Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a short little knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Warspear Degory, or at least that's how I'm going to pronounce it. I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced. This is a ridiculously inexpensive knife, G10 steel liner lock and D2 steel for $23. Pretty great. I mean, these are not, crazy materials by any stretch of the imagination, but this is built well. In fact, it's built almost identically to a lot of knives that we're extremely familiar with, and I'll talk about that. I'll extend on that. Yeah, it's just very, very inexpensive. So I'm going to talk about a few things, but with the price being so low, I'm not going to be incredibly critical. But I will make sure that these are linked down in the description so you guys can check them out. It comes in a wide variety of different configurations. If you check those out, it does help my channel, but that's, of course, entirely up to you whether or not you use my links. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at the_metal_complex. So this was sent to me directly by Warspear, right? This feels almost indistinguishable from stuff that Kubi makes, right? But also, like Remet is also a company that comes to mind. There's stuff that QSP makes that's very similar. It is very likely that this is made by a company that we are very, very familiar with. And it's also likely that whoever that company is a company whose knives are made by another company that we are extremely familiar with. And that's why so many different Amazon brands seem to feel exactly the same. So in some cases you are paying, like whoever the original brand is, and the prices end up being a bit higher, right? You're paying, I think, a little bit more for the name when they are clearly capable of making some of this stuff unbelievably cheap. I would venture to guess that there is a very interesting sort of tier system, when it comes down to who is actually making a lot of these Amazon brands. At some level, clearly there's a lot less effort that goes into the design of the knife. And the reason I think that is because of a couple of things with this knife. And so maybe, it's like the quality might be the same across multiple tiers, but a lot of the better designers are designing for whoever the head brand is. That's my theory anyway. I don't really know. But I'll give you guys, what I got from this, and then you can make up your own minds. At the end of the day, it's a good inexpensive knife, right? So anyways, let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. The overall length of the Degory, which makes me think of Cedric Diggory from Harry Potter, is about 8.35 inches. Yeah, something like that. Almost exactly 8.35 inches. The blade length itself is almost 3.75, which is pretty impressive. The cutting edge absolutely is 3.75, and it's just because that peak right there, I think, goes a little bit past. So in this case, we're going to measure total blade length by the cutting edge, 3.75 inches. Pretty cool. How about some size comparisons? Any custom scales in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. So up against the 8010 and the 8020.5. You can see here it's almost as long as the 8010, definitely a little bigger than the 8020.5. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3? Once again, it's very similar to the size of the PM2, a little bit longer, definitely way more cutting edge, way bigger than the Para 3. And then finally up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How's the action on this guy? The action itself, like the break of the detent, just the feeling of it, right? This is one of the big indicators that this is almost certainly made by a brand that we are familiar with. And also, I'm not trying to open like the can of some crazy conspiracy. I'm not trying. The fact is that it wouldn't be all that surprising to find out that a lot of these Amazon brands are made by the same companies. And it also wouldn't be like this enormous, crazy implication that we've all been getting ripped off. No, probably not. I mean, there's just a general structure to things. Like I said, I mean, when you pay more money for the main brand, you might be paying for, in a lot of cases, just a lot more attention to, bringing some really interesting designs to the market. Whereas when you pay a lot less money, you're still getting like the same general materials that you would expect, right? And the same overall like quality of execution, just not that much care and attention into the design itself, right? That's, again, I'm not saying that's absolutely true. I'm just saying, maybe that's the case. And if it is, it's not like, oh my gosh, I've been living a lie. Like, it's not that dramatic. I'm sure some people take that and kind of run with it, but I felt like this. I feel like a lot of you have probably thought this might be the case for at least the last 5 years or so, right? I mean, it's like all of a sudden all these brands are popping up all over the place. Yeah, excuse me. I choked on the last thing I was trying to say there, but it wouldn't surprise me if there are like a few main super high quality OEMs and they're just building all of this stuff for like 50 different companies, right? So, but anyways, a big indicator here is like the feeling of the detent, the feeling of the pivot, right? The feeling of the flipping action. It's all good. Little things like double clutch, which should not be a thing. Like by the time that flipper tab gets to my finger, I still got a ways to go before the detent ball actually goes up on the face of the blade. Once it's there, it's fine, right? But that's definitely something that's happening. So it's a little bit of a bummer. Access to the lock bar is pretty good, right? There's nothing, we'll get more into the design and its overall very bland nature, but, if this did not have, double clutch, it would have been really cool, but it does. It definitely has it. And that's not that big of a deal if you're, you can just do this, right? I mean, but if you're a big knife snob or an action snob like me, then you want that detent ball to be up on the face of the blade by the time that flipper tab gets to your thumb. Why? So that you can conveniently turn it sideways with one hand and get the blade to fall. But you can see it's bouncing back and forth between that detent ball and the lock position. You want that detent ball up on the face of the blade so it turns and falls. Outside of that, it's fine, right? Again, I don't want to be overly critical about a $23 knife. I mean, let's call it what it is. Carry profile, thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It is a little bit thicker. That's because we have full steel liners and a fairly thick piece of G10 on top. No, not that big of a deal. Length and height up against the PM2 and the Para 3. Yeah, it's about the same. It's very similar to the Spyderco Para 3 and fairly tall, including the flipper tab, but still not a monstrous knife, not anything that most people will be super upset about carrying. If you've been used to carrying a super tiny or super lightweight folding knife, then you might notice this, but it's not really that big of a deal. Let's weigh it. Materials, what are we looking at here? We're looking at G10, we're looking at steel liners, and we're looking at D2 steel. Sometimes when I talk about these ultra budget brands, people are like, but are we certain that it's really D2? If you asked me 7 or 8 years ago, I would say that might actually be a problem because D2 was popular enough, and like maybe, I don't know, certain companies had problems like getting their hands on it or heat treating it properly. I think for anybody, D2 is such a common and inexpensive steel. You'd have to go out of your way to like print D2 on the blade in the hopes that it grabs somebody's attention, right? And then you make an enormous amount of money off of faking D2 steel. I don't think that that's in any company's best interest nowadays, because we have so many people in the community who can confirm without a doubt what the composition is and whether or not it's heat treated properly. So I would say what's still in question is the heat treat, but whether or not it's D2, right? The implication there is you're saying that they bought some garbage steel and put D2 on there because D2 is so amazing and so popular that they stood to make this massive amount of money on this widespread deception. Probably not. Probably not. My guess is that this is authentically D2 steel. It's certainly just, I haven't used it like a crazy amount, but just cutting up some cardboard and using it, it seems like pretty much common industry standard D2. This is not a rare material. It's not an incredibly valuable material. It's not that hard for companies to get, not that this is an ideal heat treat, but a 5961 heat treat on D2 is pretty much as common as walking down the street and finding an old penny on the road. It is common, right? So that's my guess, is that that's what it is. It seems to act very similarly to a lot of other budget D2 that I've experienced, but I don't have the equipment to test hardness, and I don't have the knowledge of Laren Thomas. I don't have the equipment to, break a blade apart or cut a blade apart and look at the microstructure or anything like that. So that's my guess, right? I'm just trying to use common sense here. But the weight, steel liners G10 and a D2 blade, fairly large, 3.92 ounces, nothing surprising there. So that's what we're looking at for weight. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. Did I put my T8 bit away in the wrong order? Yeah, something down there is in the wrong order. I'll have to fix that afterwards. But, oh, you got to be kidding me. That's a T9. And the T8 and the T7 were out. I thought, did they really just put a T6 for the pivot? No. The pivot is a T8, and we have T6 screws down here, right? There's a lot here, just that it's very QSP-y. But I'm not saying it's definitely QSP. I'm saying it could be a number of different companies, assuming that company is in fact the original, right? And it's not just a company that's having things made by an OEM that has a totally different name or a secret name that we don't know about. Who knows, right? Just very similar to a lot of things I've handled from QSP. We have T6, T8, simple, common construction, right? As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. No big deal there. Blade stock thickness, we'll measure that real quick, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes here and what's acceptable, what's kind of funky, and all of that. Blade stock thickness, 122 thousandths, so about what you'd expect. All right, meat and potatoes time. Yeah, all the way around. It's a nice build, right? This is pretty much like the standard quality that we expect, right? The finish on the blade looks nice. The cutting edge is fine. It seems a little bit thin on one side, right? On the other side, it's a little bit wider, but not too far out of spec from what I would expect from a $23 knife, right? As far as its ability to slice material, like I said, this has been through a very light cardboard workout, just enough to be able to tell if there was a lazy heat treat on it. Because let me tell you, if you get D2 at 56 or something, you get some super soft number, you can tell right away, right? You don't have to be a master of anything to be able to that edge is just immediately rolling. Yeah, it's fine. It's not quite as sharp as when I got it, but it's still plenty slicey. And it doesn't feel like the edge is worn out at all. So it's very similar to other D2 knives that I've handled with similar geometry. After some light use, 5961 is what's listed, right? And these are super reputable, well-known companies where their stuff has been tested. That would be my honest guess. But again, it's not based on much, right? Blade geometry's fine. Fully flat ground. There's no jimping up here, which is weird. You got a harpoon notch, no jimping. Fine. Warspear. Very forgettable name. It's just two buzzwords, kind of, right? And then you have what looks like is it like a battle helmet with warthog tusks and a crown? Who knows? That could be AI generated. Warspear's not a new company. I think their reviews go back at least a couple of years on YouTube. I know Neves has looked at stuff. So they're not brand new. So I honestly don't know. I don't know where they came from. I have no idea. Yeah, fit finish, in terms of the overall execution, yeah, it's nice. It's about what you'd expect, right? A little peel ply texturing there, nothing goofy. No, it didn't come out of the box with scratches or anything like that. Everything looks nicely polished. It's beveled right here, so it's nice. Ergonomically, it's all right. The pocket clip is nice and short. They did a decent pocket clip on it. No big deal there, right? It's right on top of the peel ply texturing, but the texturing isn't super aggressive. It's no big deal. The pocket clip itself is also a pretty good deep carry clip, and it's not super long. Ergonomically, it's all right. The flipper tab is angled down, so the closer you are to the cutting edge, the less comfortable it is. It's just kind of, again, I don't expect it to be like a masterclass ergonomic knife, but it's kind of like a long bent rectangle. The lock-in position, they clearly expect you to lock in up here. This isn't just the cutout so that you can access the lock bar easier. I mean, they were aware enough to make that more accessible, right? And it's also, this area is commonly used as a lock-in for the index finger, but they weren't aware enough to realize, you know, that flipper tab is going to really bear down the angle on your index finger. So it's a little bit awkward, but again, not a deal breaker at $23, right? The combination of that and the double clutch is a little bit annoying, but that's about as extreme as I want to be with this. You can mount the pocket clip for left or right-handed carry. So that's nice. I mean, it's no different really to manipulate this with the left hand. You're still going to be experiencing a little bit of double clutch. Did I already showcase that they can do a liner lock pretty well? I mean, I'm not going to hit it any harder than that because anything harder than that I think is an unnecessary test. But the geometry seems fine. And truthfully, the lockup is good. It's solid completely. And honestly, the pivot action is about what I'd expect. It doesn't feel a whole lot different from, again, QSP, Remes, Vivi, Kubi. It's just Migron. Like it's just very, very similar, right? So yeah, I just don't really have any complaints there. The rest of it, it's just common stuff. There's a lanyard hole. That's it. There's a stop in here, a little bit of shouldering. It's fine, right? If you have $23 and you need a pocket knife, yeah, this'll work. I would venture to guess that if there is anything a little questionable about this, right? If I ended up, if down the road I heard like, hey, I carried this, like somebody, you know, thoroughly tested one of these, and they're like, you know, I carried this thing for 2 months, and the edge retention just wasn't quite what I expect from like industry standard D2. So maybe they sent it off to be Rockwell tested by somebody like Love Them Knives, and it came back at like 58. That wouldn't really surprise me. It also wouldn't surprise me to find out that this thing is hardened to 61 or 62, because I don't think it's that crazy of a thing to have like a decent heat treat on D2 anymore, right? Either way, it's $23. As long as they're not hitting this in the mid 50s, right? You still want your D2, I would say, even bottom of the barrel, you want it to be 59, right? It's a pretty good geometry. It's not bad. Yeah, I'd still want it to be, you know, up there. But it's just hard for me to be incredibly harsh with this being so inexpensive. If Warspear is watching, if you're like, man, like we got our own design team and like we're trying to do our own thing, and this guy's like theorizing that we're basically like this hive mind extension of a larger company. If I'm wrong, you know, okay, pay more attention to things like double clutch, right? Because you guys, I mean, if you're able to hit these price points, what we want to see is that company continuing to hit the same price point. What we don't want to see is a company, you know, start to catch fire because of their prices, and people are like, wow, these are pretty cool. And then as they get more popular, they release the exact same stuff for more and more and more money. We don't want to see that, but it's like that's what I kind of expect to happen. I'm going to be honest with you. If after my review and some other reviews from some other people, right? I mean, it seems like these Warspear knives have been pretty cheap for quite a while, at least a couple of years, right? If they start to take off and I notice that their prices are just inexplicably increasing, I'm probably just going to bid the brand farewell, because it's like, well, you're not doing anything different than anybody else. But if I notice, you know, after 6 months, a year, that they're making better designs and they're keeping their prices relatively similar, yeah, that'd be pretty cool, because I'd love to have like a separate category on this channel of really, really great ultra budget knives, right? When I say ultra budget, I mean under $30. It is pretty hard to find something that is really good quality, heat treated properly, and actually has a well thought out functional design. You get all that wrapped up. There's a few things out there, but you get all those things wrapped up and it's under $30 and the company is consistently dropping things like that. Yeah, that's not, it's worth my attention. It's absolutely worth the community's attention, right? So, if Warspear ends up being that company, then great. But little tiny things like that, you know, there's a, you know, like Civivi makes really, really well thought out basic design. Sencut, I guess. makes really well thought out basic designs, and they're using really basic materials, and they're coming in right around that $40-$45 mark, right? So if we can get the exact same thing or the exact same kind of stuff from a company like Warspear and have it hit under 30, fantastic. That's saving people even more money. And you might be thinking, that's $10 difference. Is it really that big of a deal? Yeah, to a lot of people, it really, really is. Not to all of us. We all have different budgets, and we all have different, just how much money we want to spend on certain things, right? So yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a benefit to it. I would be interested to find out what this is hardened to, but there's no part of my being, no part of my existence that questions whether or not it is D2 steel, because D2 steel is just not special or rare enough to fake. So yeah, if we found out that this was made by QSP or Kubi or whoever, and it was 5961 D2, and they just don't really have like super duper enthusiastic designers, and it's just like this sub company of another company, it wouldn't surprise me at all. But if we can get something great from it, if we can get some cooler designs and you know, people get some good use out of them, then awesome. Then I'll continue to take a look at them. But for now, this is recommendable solely for the fact that it is so inexpensive. Not because it's outclassing other designs. I think for a lot of people, it's still going to be worth spending $10 or $15 more to get a design that's just a little bit more thought out. But if you are like really, really on a budget, or if you're just like, man, listen, I don't care what you say. Even if I won the lottery, let's say I've got $500 million in my bank account, I am not spending more than $30 on a pocket knife. All right, fair enough. Check this out. It's not bad. That's really all I have to say, guys. Thanks again to Warspear for sending this in. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at _metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.